classics was the Viking Rodeo, which happened every fall.
It was a highly competitive intramural event. All the residences were divided into teams, and we would gather in the gymnasium and for all these games, these very highly competitive games, and there would be house cheers and this sort of stuff. And the whole thing was presided over by a real Viking, Udo Johansson from Bashaw. He was about 6'8", and we dressed him up in this helmet with the horns, and he had a shield, and he brought his axe along, and he presided over the games. We had some great events like the Winter Carnival, where we had a talent show, and great ice sculptures were made all over the campus. There's also a tradition of the guys party for the girls and the girls party for the boys. This was pre-formal time. So all the women on campus would get together and throw this huge party for the boys, and it would involve decorating the gym up to the nines in some sort of theme, and it would end with a dance and some sort of talent show, and the men would do the same thing for the women. And this was a fairly major social activity throughout the course. Another great tradition was Sid Zork Day. So it became a tradition here that sometime in the winter semester, the president would declare Sid Zork Day, and that was a day when all the classes were canceled. And so there was this incredible hype around when Sid Zork Day would be. Rumors would start to spread, oh, Sid Zork Day is tomorrow, and then people would stay up late and party and not go to class, only to find out that Sid Zork Day hadn't actually been called yet. It was just, but it was an amazing day because it was like a day of grace. In the middle of the winter term, when you felt overburdened with exams and papers and studying, to have this day when classes were canceled, to catch up, to have some fun, to be with other people. So it was an incredible gift of grace. I know of some students who were engaged on Sid Zork Day, so it had that sort of flavor of being a very romantic, significant kind of day.
When I pulled up, my car was emptied. I loved that O-Team grabbed all my stuff and took me in. It made it so quick and so easy and painless, and really started me off on a good foot. My RAs met me in my room and introduced themselves, and were really friendly and really outgoing, and I really felt like I was already welcome. My name was already on the door, and that meant a lot to me.
Big moving day, and they have all the students outside taking all your stuff and putting it in your dorm room. So that was a little bit of a shock, and especially coming from a small town to coming from a place like this where everybody's part of a community.
I loved Rocky Road. That was like one of my favorite holidays of the year. It was one of my favorite Sundays of the year. I loved being able to get the gym looking great, and put up all these pictures, all these posters, and invite kids from the community. University students are very similar to kindergarten students in the kinds of fun that they have. Mud and glue and sidewalk chalk and tug of war. These are the kinds of things that a lot of university students, at least when I went to school here, or at least I guess the crew that I hung out with, those are the kinds of things they love to do. And so I did find that university was sort of a revival of childhood in some ways. That it was acceptable to have a coloring party. And so we'd get together in the floor lounge and color pictures and drink coffee, as a study break. I found that the more stressed that we were, the more ridiculous the things that we do.
And there were things like filling people's rooms full with crumpled newspaper or balloons, or that probably doesn't happen anymore.
We definitely pulled a lot of pranks. I remember stealing one of my friend's doors my very first year, and his girlfriend was quite angry with us. I remember doing that one. I remember taking saran wrap and pouring like cereal in between the door and saran wrap. So when the guy opened his door in the morning, his room was filled with cereal because it all poured into his room. And then my favorite one is one night when I was an RA in my 3rd year. I woke up, it was during quiet hours. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I could hear some music in the hallway. And I went down the hall. And one of my guys was sitting in the hall with, what is it when you take the paper and you put it in like, paper mache. He was doing paper mache over another student's door. And I laughed so much I couldn't even get mad at him. So I just told him to turn his music down. And, I was like, well, make sure, no one's in the room, it's kind of a fire hazard. And he's like, no, he left already for the weekend. So even me and the other RA participated in that one. We paper mache'd over his door, and then to hide the paper mache, we duct taped completely over the door as well after. And so all you had when you came back was all this writing and all this duct tape over his door, and then him trying to take it down, but it was rock hard underneath because it was all paper mache'd.
I mean, there was, the typical garbage can full of water outside someone's door that falls in on them, and I remember from time to time we would move someone's whole room out onto Oldie's Crossing on the bridge there, and there was, I don't know, can't specifics now, but I sort of had this notion that there was always a prank going on, and mostly they were harmless, and mostly they were funny.